Oh man, cowboys. Now there's a word for you. They can't be men. They got to be boys. Um, that kind of goes into back to sovereignty a little bit. Oh, gosh, I got my two things I want to talk about were kind of like sovereignty and archaics type stuff, and
Yeah,
they
please
kind of
do.
blend together.
They do.
With like the cowboy, it has to do with the moon cow, and the moon cow is the placenta. The placenta. So, and why that matters is that's the original cake. That is the original birthday cake. It actually means cake, placenta. It's a plane. So in sovereignty, people talk about common law this, common law that. Well, the common law does not recognize absolute ownership, and that's a problem. If you don't, if neither it doesn't recognize absolute ownership, so that means you can't own your own biology. Well, when you're in the matrix, mother's womb, you have the placenta, which is the father, our father who art in heaven. You have the stem, which is the umbilical cord, and you have the fruit of that, which is you, the man. So when you come out, you are whole. That is you. And if the baby's sitting there nursing on mama and the placenta's still attached and the umbilical cord's still attached and it's calm, and you show it the placenta and show it the cord and it's still calm, and you take a pair of scissors and you cut it, guess what? The baby starts screaming because you just cut off part of its member. Now it'll naturally fall off on its own anyhow, but that's how the Vatican and all of them they when they make that cut, that's actually human trafficking. And so that's why they need a license. A license is something that you would need. If you didn't have a license, then it would be illegal. So a license, which what would be illegal, is now lawful. So without the
Legal,
license,
not
then what you're
lawful.
doing, yeah,
Yeah.
pardon me. So without the license, you're committing a crime. So the doctor needs to have a license so that when
To
he
commit the
human
crime.
traffics you, he can commit the crime.
Right.
Now,
May
the
I
placenta
inter
is the creditor
Okay.
and the man's the debtor. So then the credit is what they create the trust out of, the birth certificate. They create the trust off that because that is the father, that's the creator. Um, so when you accept the birthday, you are accepting the actual cut. You're accepting the cut. You're saying, well, I was born when I came out of my mother. That's where the whole Roe v. versus Wade thing comes into play of like, when is a baby a baby? When does life begin, right? And some people are like, oh no, it happens when you come out and they make that cut. No, making that cut, that's the human trafficking. So that's in common law. You can't they don't recognize absolute ownership. So that's a problem because now you're part of the public pool. So when you're part of the public pool, you're of the world. You're of the public. Well, Jesus came and said, "Don't be of the world, just be in the world." So accepting the cut is accepting the birthday, which is accepting the human trafficking. And now you need to be saved because you are without your father. That's why Jesus said in Mark 35:31 or something like that, those who are whole need not a physician. Well, if you're whole of your placenta and your umbilical cord and you, that's all one same biology. It's the same exact biology, right? And all the stuff I'm getting from is I studied Curtis R. Period
Kallenbach.
Kallenbach, and he's been on Crow a ton of different times. He has his own podcast called New Word Order, WORD. It's intense. It's really intense. And he goes really deep into all this stuff. So when you accept that, then there's no privacy. There's no private because you're now part of the public. But if I show up to court and I said, I'm all present and accounted for from my zygote to my last breath, because you can only be in the now. I'm here now. So I acknowledge that I have with me my placenta because that's my biology. I have with me my umbilical cord. That's my biology. I have my first breath and I know I'll have my last one. But right now I'm now and I'm whole and I'm present. That's it. They cannot move forward because you didn't admit to human trafficking, which means you didn't admit to the birth date, which means there was no cut, which means you are completely whole. And if you're whole, well, there's nothing to credit, there's nothing to debit. It's a wash.